Most people grow up believing wealth is something that takes forever. Years of grinding, slow savings, careful planning, and endless patience. But the truth is that belief keeps most people trapped in the slow lane. Money does not always reward patience. More often it rewards speed. Centuries ago, Niccolo Machiavelli understood something most people still fail to see today. Those who move first often control the outcome. He watched rulers rise, fall, and dominate not because they were always wiser, but because they acted faster than everyone around them. While others were still debating, the bold had already made their move, and that same principle still runs the modern world. The wealthy move with urgency. The average person moves with hesitation. That difference in speed changes everything, because wealth is not only about money. It's about momentum. It's about mindset. It's about the willingness to act while everyone else is still waiting for permission. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Every minute you spend overthinking, someone else is already executing. Every opportunity you delay becomes someone else's advantage. Speed is not reckless. Hesitation is. If you truly want to understand why some people seem to build wealth at lightning speed, while others work for decades and never break free, you need to understand what I call Machiavelli's velocity code. Because in this game, slow people do not just lose, they become invisible. Today, we're breaking down the first principles that separate the wealthy from the waiting. These are not theories. These are the hidden mechanics behind fast wealth, and once you see them, you will never look at success the same way again. Let's begin. You've been sold a lie your entire life. Good things come to those who wait. Slow and steady wins the race. Be patient. Your time will come. Sounds comforting. But look around. Who is actually winning? Is it the people who wait forever? Is it the people who spend years preparing? Or is it the ones who move before everyone else even realizes there is an opportunity? Think about the biggest fortunes created in the last 2 decades. Tech founders, social media entrepreneurs, crypto millionaires, e-commerce brands. Very few of them followed the slow path. They saw a window and moved immediately. Before the crowd understood what was happening, they had already built a position. Meanwhile, most people are still preparing, still researching, still waiting, still trying to feel ready. But the truth is, perfect moments never announce themselves. They pass quietly while cautious people are still thinking. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He believed fortune favors those bold enough to seize the moment, not necessarily the smartest, not necessarily the most talented, the fastest, the ones who decide quickly, the ones who strike first, the ones who do not wait for approval. But society trains you to do the opposite. From childhood, you are taught to wait your turn, raise your hand, follow the rules, seek permission. That conditioning creates obedience, and obedient people are predictable. Predictable people are easy to control, and controlled people rarely build wealth, because the system benefits when you move slowly. The elite often win not because they are inherently better, but because they act faster. They move while others think. They execute while others plan. They dominate while others hesitate. That is the real difference. Speed is not something school teaches. It is a mindset. A mindset built on understanding that delay often costs more than mistakes ever will. The wealthy understand this instinctively, and those who learn it early gain an enormous advantage. The first principle is simple. Speed creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. Most people are slow. They wait for certainty. They need validation. They want guarantees. That makes them common. But the person who moves fast becomes rare, and rarity creates power. Think about every major opportunity in business. The first person to launch gets attention. The first person to enter gets market share. The first person to speak up gets noticed. Everyone else is left competing for what remains. Machiavelli would say, the one who strikes first controls the narrative. The one who waits must react. And reaction is always weaker than action. The same applies to wealth. The entrepreneur who launches first owns the conversation. The investor who enters early captures the gains. The creator who posts first captures the trend. By the time everyone else catches up, the advantage is already gone. Speed does not just move you forward, it removes competition before it begins. Because by the time others decide to move, you are already established. You already have momentum. You already have visibility. You already have proof. And that creates a fortress around your position. Here's the brutal truth. Every time you delay, someone faster takes your place. And once they do, catching up becomes exponentially harder. This is why the wealthy value decisiveness, not recklessness. Decisiveness. They understand that in the modern world, speed is one of the greatest competitive advantages. People are obsessed with compound interest, save a little, wait 20 years, watch it grow. And yes, that works. But for most people starting from zero, waiting decades is not a strategy. It is a prison. Momentum compounds much faster, because when you move quickly and create results, those results attract more opportunities. One win creates another. One connection leads to 5 more. One successful video leads to brand deals, audience growth, and business expansion. Momentum is magnetic. Machiavelli saw this in power. A leader who wins one battle gains confidence, resources, and loyalty. That makes the next victory easier. The same applies to money. A creator who uploads consistently builds momentum. That momentum attracts viewers. Viewers attract subscribers. Subscribers attract monetization. Monetization creates capital. Capital creates scale. And suddenly what would take years for someone else happens in months. Meanwhile, slow movers are still perfecting their first step. Still planning version 1, while fast movers are already on version 10. That is why speed beats perfection. Momentum does not require perfection. It requires motion. Once you are in motion, opportunities begin to find you. People notice, doors open, partnerships appear. To outsiders it looks like luck, but it is not luck, it is velocity. The fast collide with opportunities that the slow never even see, and that is where wealth begins. The third principle is the one most people learn far too late. Hesitation costs more than failure ever will. Most people are terrified of making the wrong move, so they pause, they overanalyze. They replay every possible outcome in their head. They wait for more clarity, more certainty, more confidence. But while they are waiting, the opportunity is already slipping away. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely lost through a single bad decision. More often it is lost through indecision. The ruler who hesitates gives his enemies time. The leader who delays loses control. The person who waits too long surrenders the advantage. And wealth works exactly the same way. Think about how many opportunities people lose simply because they took too long to act. A business idea, an investment, a new content strategy, a partnership, a job offer. At first, it looks promising, but instead of moving, they spend weeks researching. Weeks become months, and by the time they finally decide, someone else has already taken the space. The market has moved on. The audience has shifted. The price has gone up. The moment is gone. Their caution did not protect them. It cost them everything. The wealthy understand something powerful. A wrong decision can be corrected. Hesitation cannot. A mistake gives you data. A mistake gives you feedback. A mistake teaches you what works and what doesn't. But hesitation teaches you nothing except fear. That's why fast decision makers often win, even when they are not always right, because they are willing to adjust quickly. They trust their ability to pivot. The slow mover wants certainty before action. The fast mover understands that clarity often comes after action, and that difference changes outcomes. If you make the wrong move, you can fix it. If you make no move, you get nothing. That is the real cost of hesitation. Here's where most people sabotage themselves. They become obsessed with perfection. The perfect product, the perfect video, the perfect business plan, the perfect timing. But perfection is one of the most dangerous traps in the modern world. Because while you are trying to perfect everything, someone else is already live. Someone else is already publishing. Someone else is already selling. And the market rewards presence far more than perfection. The company that launches first often captures the attention. The creator who starts first builds the audience. The brand that enters first creates trust. By the time the better version arrives, the audience has already chosen. Machiavelli would compare this to war. The general who reaches the battlefield first chooses the ground. The one who arrives later must fight on someone else's terms. The same is true in wealth. The entrepreneur who launches an imperfect offer but moves fast gains something far more valuable than perfection. Real feedback, real customers, real market response, real data that allows them to improve rapidly. Meanwhile, the perfectionist is still editing, refining, and preparing. still trying to make everything flawless. But flawless rarely wins. Fast iteration wins. Look at some of the biggest companies in the world. They did not start perfect. Their first versions were messy, incomplete, sometimes even criticized. But they launched. And because they launched early, they had time to improve while the market was still paying attention. That is what gave them dominance. Perfection often creates delay. Delay creates irrelevance, and irrelevance kills momentum. The wealthy understand this. Done beats perfect. Live beats polished. Movement beats endless preparation. If you wait until everything feels perfect, you will almost always be late. The fifth principle is where wealth begins to scale. Speed multiplies leverage, and leverage multiplies money. Leverage means using something small to create something massive. It could be capital, a team, technology, an audience, a network. But leverage without speed is wasted potential. You can have the best tools in the world, the best business idea, the right connections, the right resources. But if you move slowly, someone faster will still win. Machiavelli understood this in terms of power. A ruler with an army who acts late can still lose to a smaller force that moves first. Timing amplifies power. In business, the same rule applies. A quick partnership can unlock new markets. A fast collaboration can expose you to a larger audience. A decisive hire can accelerate growth. But if you spend months negotiating every tiny detail, the opportunity window closes. Someone else closes the deal. Someone else gets the audience. Someone else builds the momentum. Speed transforms leverage into exponential growth. One fast move leads to another. One opportunity creates three more. One successful launch funds the next launch. That's how empires are built, not through isolated effort. Through stacked leverage, moving at high velocity. The wealthy do not wait for perfect conditions. They use what they have immediately. Then they build on top of it. That stacking effect is what creates scale. Speed turns small advantages into massive dominance. And once the gap widens, it becomes very difficult for slower competitors to catch up. This is where most people misunderstand success. They think successful people fail less. In reality, they often fail more. They just fail faster. And because they fail faster, they learn faster. The poor mindset fears failure. It treats failure like humiliation, something to avoid at all costs. So, people move carefully, too carefully. They try to eliminate all risk, but in doing so, they eliminate growth, because growth comes from feedback, and feedback only comes from action. Machiavelli understood that leaders who never risk defeat never achieve great victories. The same applies to wealth. The entrepreneur who launches 10 ideas and fails at 8 learns more than the person who spends 10 years preparing one perfect idea. Because every failure produces information. What worked, what didn't, what the audience wants, what the market rejects. That knowledge becomes power. The cautious person avoids failure, but they also avoid learning. And without learning, there is no evolution. This is why fast failure often leads to fast success. Each mistake sharpens judgment. Each setback improves execution. Each failure compresses experience into a shorter time frame. In 1 year, a fast mover can gain 5 years' worth of lessons. That is the real advantage. Failure is not the enemy. Slow learning is. The faster you learn, the faster you grow. And the faster you grow, the faster wealth follows. The wealthy understand this deeply. They do not see failure as loss. They see it as tuition. And the faster they pay it, the faster they graduate to the next level. The people who stay broke often spend years trying not to fail. The people who build wealth spend years learning from failure. That difference is everything. The world rewards those who move, adjust, and move again, not those who stand still trying to avoid mistakes. Speed creates experience. Experience creates confidence. Confidence creates bigger decisions, and bigger decisions create bigger returns. That is why velocity is not just about it, is about accelerated evolution. Every fast move changes who you become. Every quick decision sharpens your instincts. Every rapid failure upgrades your judgment. And eventually, what once felt risky becomes second nature. That is when wealth starts to move toward you faster than ever before. The seventh principle is one of the most brutal truths about wealth. The speed of your decisions often determines the speed of your income. Most people spend too much time thinking and not enough time moving. They sit with questions for weeks. Should I start this business? Should I launch this channel? Should I invest in this skill? Should I reach out to this client? Should I take this opportunity? And while they are stuck in analysis, the opportunity is already expiring. The wealthy think differently. They understand that a fast decision with quick correction is almost always more powerful than a slow decision that arrives too late. Machiavelli saw this in leadership. Rulers who made swift decisions maintained control. Even when those decisions were imperfect, they still preserved momentum. The ones who hesitated lost influence to faster, bolder rivals. The same rule applies to money. A fast yes closes the deal. A fast no protects your time. A fast decision keeps momentum alive. But slow decisions create stagnation. The person who decides quickly gains feedback quickly. The person who delays remains trapped in uncertainty. And uncertainty is expensive. Think about business. Clients trust people who respond fast. Investors back people who move fast. Audiences follow creators who act consistently and decisively. Speed signals confidence. Confidence attracts trust. Trust attracts money. That is why fast decision makers often appear more successful. Not because they always choose perfectly, but because they spend less time standing still. Here's the framework. Get the minimum information needed. Make the call. Move if it works. Scale it. If it fails, pivot. Either way, you are ahead of the person still thinking about whether they should begin. That is the hidden link between decision speed and income speed. Fast decisions create fast results. Fast results compound into wealth. Slow decisions compound into regret. The final principle is the one that separates talent from domination. Velocity creates visibility, and visibility creates wealth. In today's world, being good is not enough. People need to see you. The creator who posts once and disappears remains invisible. The entrepreneur who launches once and goes silent gets forgotten. But the one who moves consistently, quickly, and relentlessly becomes impossible to ignore. Machiavelli understood that leaders who acted decisively and publicly became legendary. The silent ones were forgotten. Visibility is not vanity. It is strategy. For wealth, this means the creator who uploads consistently grows faster. The founder who shares progress publicly attracts attention. The entrepreneur who moves fast in public builds credibility. Attention creates opportunity. Opportunity creates money. That chain starts with visibility. And visibility is built through speed. Think about the biggest names online. They are not always the most talented, but they are often the most consistent and the fastest to act on trends. They move quickly. They adapt quickly. They publish quickly. That keeps them in front of people. The slow mover may have incredible talent, but if nobody sees it, it has no market value. Talent without visibility stays hidden. Hidden talent rarely gets rewarded. But talent plus visibility plus speed, that is where dominance begins. The wealthy understand this. They know speed creates output. Output creates visibility. Visibility creates leverage. Leverage creates wealth. This is especially true for YouTube. The creator who waits for the perfect video often loses to the creator who uploads consistently, learns from data, and improves fast. Speed creates learning. Learning improves quality. Quality increases visibility. That loop becomes unstoppable. Now that you understand these 8 principles, the question becomes simple. What are you going to do with them? You can continue moving slowly. Keep waiting for the perfect time. Keep telling yourself you need more preparation. Keep delaying the move you already know you need to make. And if you do, you will continue getting the same results. Slow progress, invisible growth, a life spent wondering why others moved ahead. Or you can choose velocity. Move before you feel fully ready. Decide faster than you are comfortable with. Launch before it is perfect. Fail fast. Learn fast. Adapt fast. Because that is how momentum is built. Here is your immediate action plan. Pick one opportunity you have been delaying, something you have been thinking about for days, weeks, maybe even months, and act on it today. Not tomorrow. Today. Send the email. Message the client. Start the channel. Upload the video. Launch the offer. Take the meeting. Make the decision. Because every hour you wait is another hour someone faster is taking what could have been yours. Speed is not recklessness when it is intentional. It is strategy. It is leverage. It is power. It is the difference between those who build empires and those who spend their lives preparing to begin. Machiavelli would say, "Fortune favors the bold, but boldness without speed is just performance." Real boldness is decisive action, fast action, intentional action, action that creates momentum before fear has time to grow. That is how wealth is built. The choice is yours. Stay slow and stay small, or move fast and become impossible to stop. Money does not reward hesitation. It rewards motion, it rewards execution, it rewards velocity. And now you know why. If this breakdown of Machiavelli's wealth code changed the way you view the speed of success, make sure to subscribe and like the video. We are excavating the hidden mechanics of power and history that they tried to bury. Plant the seeds of your future today. The next treasure of knowledge will be revealed soon.